use the platitudes and cliches. It sounds so trite, but it was a gut check victory for our kids and another step in the right direction.
Steve, you've been asking a lot of Don recently. A game like that, at this point, do you expect him to come through with something like that for you?
Yeah, he's just been, even going back to my first year, I watched him from home and then occasionally up in the box. And that's probably where I first gained an appreciation for what a unique talent he was. Because there's something about, when you're sometimes you're so close, to your team that you don't see things with as much clarity, and being able to watch his freshman year from a distance was where I first came to really appreciate that he was as unique a talent as I've coached in my career. Unorthodox, as I've said, extraterrestrial, just rare to have someone that can guard 5 positions on defense and then play 5 positions on offense. And then there's just his personality and his temperament, his demeanor, and he's what we call a happy warrior. And so starting from the freshman year, then there was progress his sophomore year, and then last year he kind of tapered or even went south some in terms of the trajectory he was on. And now he's returned back on that path, but playing the best basketball of his career because he's older, he's more experienced, he worked on his game, and he's come back with this, leadership and maturity, on top of the athleticism and the versatility and the other gifts that he possesses. So, yeah, we're at a point where there's nothing Dom could do that would surprise us because he's been exceptional, in so many games over his career and in particular this year.
Is he automatic first team All Big East in your mind, and is he in the mix for Player of the Year in the conference?
I don't think I can't imagine there's anybody in our league, let alone the country, that, influences the game at both ends of the floor in such dramatic fashion. I know in my career I've never had a player, there's no one, not even close. There's been Baron Davis was an exceptional talent, Trevor Ariza was, some really good players, but his ability to influence the game at both ends of the floor in such dramatic fashion is really unusual. So, whether it's this league or the country, I think he's really special. And just the force, like I've used, like a tornado ripping up and down the court, he's a force of nature. He just imposes his will on the game and disrupts what opponents are trying to execute offensively, discombobulates opponents, unnerves them, and you can't really prepare for it. How do you prepare for a tornado ripping up and down the basketball court? It's kind of a unique situation. So you think you can talk about it and show film, but it's not as though you can simulate what Dom does in practice unless you have Dom. And we're fortunate we have Dom. We're very thankful he's a special kid.
Coach, what are those last 15 seconds on the sidelines like for you?
Oh, you're at a point where you're fighting your fannies off, and you want this group of kids to be able to get a win. And we caught a break. Sometimes we always talk about how a bounce of the ball, a hot hand, an injury, so often could determine the outcome of a game. And then this was one of those games where a bounce of the ball, could have gone the other way and they win. But we had to bounce the ball that went our way. And, you hope, because that's what you preach to your kids. If you keep working hard, it doesn't guarantee victories, but you enhance the odds, the probabilities of being successful if you stay after it and keep working. that better days are ahead. You know, when you lose 6 of 8, it's tough, but that's when you find out who you are. You know, that's where, you know, kind of test your mettle. And this is a really unique group, and I think our best basketball is still ahead of us. You know, we'll have our hands full against Georgetown, at Marquette, and at Villanova in the Big East tournament, but I don't think we've played our best basketball yet. We've been so banged up. We're just now returning to where we were after that 11-1 start before the rash of injuries and setbacks. And we've been so banged up, you're starting to see the team that got off that 11-1 start, because we're finally closer to full strength with a full complement of players. And it's a good group when we've been patched together. And if you were to check the record, you know, what we are, full strength with full complement of players, you know, I think we only have 2 losses this year.
At this stage of the game, and given what the stakes have become, seem much more like single-minded. Do you notice that there's a lot less selfish play? Do you see a greater amount of teamwork?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, that 11-1 start, that start of the season was as impressive as any team I've coached. And we really, I mean, at Syracuse, at Providence, at Xavier, I just think we've been banged up. You know, we just haven't had a full complement of players, and that compounds. I mean, every team has stretches where we don't play well. Don't get me wrong. Defensively, our rotations, boxing out on the boards. I mean, there's a free throw shooting. I mean, we can look at tonight's game, and when you win, you tend not to amplify the areas that need to be addressed. When you lose, it's more obvious because you're searching to back up the narrative of why we're terrible. And so you tend, I mean, you know, we tend as coaches to really hammer on these areas. Hey, we didn't return the ball over. You know, we didn't get back on defense. We didn't check them out on the boards. You know, we didn't make the extra pass. Our decision making was poor. You know, but when you win a game, you know, those same areas, deficiencies, those areas where we're challenged or vulnerabilities still are there. You know, but with this team, I just really like this team. I think we played really good basketball, other than for 6 weeks we've been banged up and had injuries, and Rashid was missing, and D was trying to fight through his injuries, and then Obekba had his issues. And I mean, we've been a really banged up team. It's the most injured team that I've had in my coaching career. I've had one player go down, like a DJ Kennedy in the Big East tournament, or I lost Gutzerik a week before the NCAA tournament. I lost Baron Davis in the Sweet 16. Lost Jelani McCoy to suspension. You know, so I've lost players, you know, at a critical stage of the season, but I've never had a group that's been so banged up. With Ron Linfont deserves, you know, the most valuable player award, and our team of doctors for kind of patching this group together. You know, so for me, I just think we played really good basketball this year. Other than we were so banged up, and we're playing a good schedule. When you're losing to Villanova and, you know, and to Duke, and they're really good teams. You know. And then those games that were, you know, we didn't have Rashid against Butler, we didn't have Rashid against Creighton, and we weren't full strength at DePaul. I mean, you know, so if we'd be 10th in the country or something if we had those 3 wins. And so to me, it's about the injuries and being banged up, and we've learned and grown along the way, and so now we're closer to being at full strength. But trust me, we've got our hands full coming up with these next couple games, as every team in the league does. It's just a really competitive league.
When Obekba and Pointer are blocking shots like that, does that make it impossible?
Big. When we get stops, it leads to the runouts because our foot speed is exceptional. So we get down the floor and we're able to get high percentage looks and finish faster than defenses are able to get back. And our 2-3 zone we had a 13-minute stretch where they didn't have a field goal in that 2-3 zone, and it helped us late against DePaul. It saved us against Seton Hall. And it turned the game again today, you know. So I've always felt this team could be a really good zone defensive team, because Obekba, like a goalie in hockey or soccer, if you put him in front of the rim, it's tough to get good looks at the basket. And then with our quickness in the perimeter, Jamal plays the passing lane well. Phil has, you know, longer arms, more length than one would think for his diminutive size, and Rashid has great length, kind of almost Gary Payton-like length. Don running around out there like a free safety in that zone, you know, is able to, it looks almost like there's 6 players out there when we're really moving and working at concert. So that's something, again, an example of with this team, there's so many dimensions that we're still learning about how to best position ourselves. And then some of the injuries probably were a blessing, because it forced us to get creative, use our ingenuity, figure out how to play through foul trouble. And the zone helped us when against DePaul when D'Angelo had 4. Tonight, Obekba and D'Angelo had 4, so we went to the zone again. So sometimes out of necessity, you know, you stumble into something that helps you. And I was more prone to go with the zone tonight because it helped us in those previous games against DePaul and Seton Hall, and then tonight it turned it in the first half. In the previous games, we used the zone late because of foul trouble. Tonight, we used it to turn the game in the first half.